Hey everybody, Evan here with the Two Musician. Today, how high should hi-hats be? Does it matter?
It better.
Stay tuned. Hey everybody, Evan here with the Two Musician, where our mission here is to help drummers find and keep the motivation to practice drum, as well as push past those plateaus that we as drummers, as musicians, always face to get better and to continue the trajectory of betterment behind the drums. Today we're looking at how high should hi-hats be? Does it really matter? And we're gonna go over a few things, but I do wanna mention first, this can all vary, so I will state that first. Obviously, drummers are different, as I've mentioned before in different videos, different heights, different setups, and everything. So let's preface it by saying that. But what I will say is there's a lot of drummers that look for this question, and they look for, they look for an answer to this question, I should say. And so with that said, it's gonna vary, but I will tell you what my settings are really here, what my hi-hat, how high they are in comparison from the ground, and then also to the snare drum, because if you haven't seen already, in another video I talked about essentially how high should your drum throne be, and that it all coincides together. So if you haven't checked out that video, check it out. It talks about how high your drum throne should be. But essentially, my legs are, at least at 90 degree, and they're angled downward. The hi-hat, so let's go ahead and just jump right into that. So I have my hi-hat about 5 inches from the edge of my snare here. It's about 5 inches away. And then it's 34 3/4 inch from the ground or so. So that doesn't really, like I said, it may vary because you may be taller than me, you may be shorter than me. I'm 6'5", so these are my settings. I will say, the closer you have your hi-hats to the snare, I've talked about this in other videos, including that drum throne video. You want to make sure that everything makes sense logistically. So my hi-hat is 5 inches away from the edge of my snare, close enough to where I can play, and logistically everything makes sense. I've talked about it. The stick from the snare hits the hi-hat. The tom is angled downward. Floor tom even, ignore all the crap here. Even this cymbal, this crash over here, on the edge of the snare. Ride. Everything is angled downward to the central point of the snare drum. You'll see a lot of drummers who have their hi-hats a lot higher, and logistically that doesn't really make sense, but it's one of those things, like I say, it varies. If that's what you want to go with and you can play really well doing that with higher hi-hats further away from the snare drum, go ahead and do that. Travis Barker does it, and he's a phenomenal drummer. So there are drummers like him who prefer that way, and that's cool and all. But if you're sincerely looking for how high should my hi-hats be, first of all, it's gonna vary due to your height. But second of all, the closer they are to your snare drum, the better, because you're gonna be able to play. You're gonna be able to get from your hi-hat to your snare faster, from your snare to your hi-hat faster. It just makes more sense. You don't want it too high, way up here, and you don't want it too low, because at that point, it's gonna be a little uncomfortable, and you may have to shift your body in a certain way that may not be the best for your situation. You're gonna notice as you move things closer to you and they logistically make sense, everything's kind of angled in towards me, you're gonna start noticing you'll play faster just from the logistics of your drums and of your cymbals. So with that being said, that's basically how high hi-hats should be. I have mine about 5 inches from the snare. You can use that as a guide if you want, but I will say it just has to make sense for you logistically when you're playing. So with that being said, that's how high hi-hats should be. So 34, almost 35 inches from the ground for me. Once again, it may vary, and then 5 inches from the snare. In the link below, I recommend you checking out 10 free drum hacks that I have on my site. It's gonna help you out. It's gonna help your drum chops. and you be able to kind of push through those barriers that I talked about at the beginning. Absolutely free, 10 drum hacks in the link in the description below. Check it out. I hope that this has helped you. And if you have any questions or comments about what your settings are for your hi-hats, leave it in the comments below. What do you specifically go with? Are you a drummer who prefers hi-hats way higher, or do you like them even lower than what mine are? I'd love to hear your perspective on it and get your opinions on that. But with that being said, I appreciate you sticking around. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell notification so that way you're notified every single time we upload a video here at A Tuned Musician. Hit that like and share button also if you found this video helpful whatsoever. I'd appreciate it. It's going to help in the algorithm and all the things that go on in the background for this video. But I appreciate y'all sticking around and watching this. Until next time, stay tuned.